Hello, everyone, and welcome to the May Assessment and Accountability webinar. This is Kevin Chandler, the Director for Assessment. As always, a few housekeeping notes. Everyone joining today is muted, but if you have questions during the presentation, you can send them to us through the Q&A box shown here. Simply type in your question and click Send. We posted our presentation as a document, so you can download and follow along. Our presentation is also being recorded and will be posted on our website, along with a transcript of the presentation. Okay, let's get started. To begin, I would like to make an announcement about required ISAT testing in spring 2023. Again, this information applies to spring 23 ISAT testing. For spring 23, grade 11 students will be required to take the ISAT ELA, ISAT Math, and ISAT Science. Students in grades 9 and 10 will have the ability to participate in the ISAT ELA and Math if local district assessment plans require them to. And with that update, I'll pause for any questions.
We don't have any questions currently.
Thank you. I'll throw it over to Andrew for a NAEP update.
Hello, this is not Paul Kleinert, but Andrew Bennett. Paul is on vacation and will be out of the office until May 25th. Before the pandemic shut things down in the spring of 2019, Idaho completed participating in the NAEP long-term trend for age 13 and age 9. This spring, we successfully completed LTT age 9 again for some interesting pre-post data for that age group. Results coming soon. In the fall of 2019, Idaho completed participating in LLT 13, and now, in the fall of 2022, Idaho is participating to get the post-assessment data for age 13. Initial district notifications will be sent by Dr. Kleinert in the end of May. Going forward to NAEP springtime, NCES and the National Assessment Governing Board are beginning to explore the options of device-agnostic assessment as well as assessment using the school's internet. These steps are necessary for two reasons. More students are transitioning to online learning in the public school system nationally, and reduced costs. NAEP is looking into using Chromebooks rather than the already used Surface Pros. They are also looking at using online systems, so no matter what device the student is on, they can easily take the assessment. Idaho was selected for 2 more assessments in the spring. This also serves as a reminder that Paul doesn't just do the NAEP assessment, he also oversees at least 7 other assessments. These are the international assessments. HIMSS is the Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study, and ISILS is the International Computer and Information Literacy Study. There will be very few schools selected. As always, contact Dr. Paul with any thoughts and/or questions, but you may be met with an out-of-office reply until May 25th. And I will pause there to see if we have any questions.
We have an ISAT question already. If next year's 11th graders took ISAT this year as 10th graders, do they need to take it again next year?
That is an excellent question, and yes, they will.
That is all the questions for now.
Excellent. I'll now throw it over to Andrew for an ELPA update.
Good morning, Andrew Bennett here again, and I am so happy to be able to inform you of some reminders around the English Language Proficiency Assessment. Access for ELPA digital score reports were released last Friday on May 6th. Districts are now able to download a number of score reports, including the individual student reports via the WIDA Assessment Management System. Physical ISRs, or individual student reports, will be delivered to the districts between May 23rd and May 25th. A critically important date to remember is the Access for ELS participation rate appeals window, which opens on May 23rd and closes on June 3rd at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. It is imperative that your district designate someone to review those names populated within the Access Participation Appeals web application during the window to address students who may be eligible for an appeal. Lastly, the English Learner Management System will be updated with EL statuses and Access for L's scores automatically on July 1st. As mentioned in the previous slide, digital score reports are now available at WIDA AMS. Under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, score reports must be understandable, uniform, and provided in a language comprehensible to the parent. The individual student reports are available in 49 languages and can be downloaded directly from the WIDA AMS website. Districts may use the Access for L's overview parent handout as an informational resource and as an accompaniment to the ISR reports. The handout can be found on the WIDA Secure portal or by going to the Parent Resource section of the ELPA webpage. Districts should note that IDAPA code 08020311 subsection 05B requires districts to share results with parents within 3 weeks of receiving their results. Staff members wanting to access and download the school reports require a district test coordinator or school test coordinator permission set. The DTC and school coordinators are able to download various reports that may be used for various purposes. And these include the individual student report, the student roster report, and the school and district frequency report. Reports typically provide scale scores and proficiency levels within each language domain and composite scores. Districts may find the Access for L's interpretive guide for score reports a very helpful guide when districts are interpreting their English learner student performance results. Both the alternate access and access interpretive guides can be accessed via the WIDA Secure portal. As mentioned before, the Access for L's participation rate window opens on May 23rd and will be closed on June 3rd at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So mark your calendars. The Access Participation Rate Appeals process provides districts with the opportunity to adjust a district's English Learner Access Participation Rate. Please note that access appeals are required to be submitted for all students who do not have all 4 domains completed. This includes students who have a documented disability which exempts them from one or more of the language domains. The 2022 Access Participation Rate Appeals Web Application User Guide should be used as a reference when completing an Access Participation Rate appeal. The Alternate English Language Learning Assessment Project seeks to examine instructional practices and policies for English learners with significant cognitive disabilities as to develop an evidence-centered design approach. The project examines current ELP standards with the goal of developing a foundational knowledge base and furthers the inclusion of students in English language instruction. Within the assessment realm, the work is critical to inform the development of an alternate English language proficiency assessment. In order to develop these high-quality assessments, the Advancing Attella team will be conducting bias and sensitivity and content reviews in August of 22. And are seeking Idaho educators to participate. Bias and sensitivity reviews will assist to ensure test items are free of materials that might favor any subgroup of students over another on the basis of gender, race, or ethnicity, disability, home language, religion, culture, region, or socioeconomic status. Content reviewers ensure test items are grade level appropriate and factual. If you are interested in participating in the Advancing Attella Bias and Sensitivity and Content Review, complete the interest survey by May 27th, 2022. If you are selected, the Attella team will reach out to you directly. The annual WIDA conference will be in person and take place in Louisville, Kentucky between September 28th and September 30th. Registration for the 2022 WIDA annual conference is now open. Visit the conference website for additional event information, including speakers' bios and the session schedule, registration details, and more. I wanted to take a quick second to thank all the district staff who attended one or more of the monthly ELPA webinar series for their participation. Thank you. The last webinar will be presented today at 12 p.m. Mountain Time, and we will be reviewing the 2021-22 school year and the initial student performance data. We will also be reviewing and collecting feedback on what trainings are necessary to be a part of the series during the 2022-2023 school year. Please join us if you have the time. As always, ELPA training webinar topics and webinar links are posted to the ELPA webpage under the Trainings tab. And I'll pause there to see if there are any questions.
Did you say that 11th grade students will be taking all of the ISAT next year and not just science?
That is correct. For spring 23 ISAT testing, grade 11 students will be required to take ISAT ELA, ISAT Math, and ISAT Science.
Since a college entrance exam is no longer a graduation requirement, but must still be provided, will the state allow districts to administer the SAT on a College Board approved Saturday paid by the state?
I'll take the question, Chandler. So are you talking about Saturday national assessment? And if that's the case, then the voucher will be only available to the virtual schools next year.
Okay. Thank you, Ayaka. There are no more questions at this time.
Kevin Chandler stepping in for Karen Striegel, the Special Education Coordinator for Alternate Assessment, who cannot be with us today, so I will be sharing her content. Karen will be out of the office from today, May 11, until Friday, May 13. If you have IDAA test administration issues while she is gone, don't forget the Troubleshooting SPED Improprieties Issues guidance document that she has shared during the April webinar. It provides guidance on how to avoid 2 common SPED-related test improprieties and how to easily solve 3 common IDAA test administration issues. The link to this guidance document is embedded in this slide, and Tara will upload it to the chat for you now. Please be sure that staff who administer the IDAAs are using the IDAA Quick Guide. We have seen a lot of the IDAA test improprieties because the TA did not follow the instructions and illustrations outlined in the Quick Guide, especially the Early Stopping Rule Quick Guide. All of the IDAA Quick Guides are available for download from the Idaho Portal Resources webpage. If you can't find the answers you need in the Summative Test Administration Manual, the Troubleshooting SPED Improprieties Issues guidance document, or the IDAA Quick Guides, then you will probably have a technical issue that requires the expertise of the Idaho Help Desk. Now for a reminder about when IDAA scores will be released. Remember that the IDAA in ELA, Math, and Science are operational field tests this spring. The Standard Setting Conference is scheduled for the week of July 18th. Then, our test vendor will work its psychometric magic to calculate cut scores for each proficiency level. After that, the State Board of Education has to approve the cut scores. We can't give you a specific date for when the IDAA scores will be released, but we anticipate it will be early autumn. Speaking of standard setting, we still have a dire need for special education teachers to serve on the standard setting committees for the ISAT Science and the IDAA in all 3 content areas. Again, the standard setting conference for all assessments is scheduled for the week of July 18. In addition to the dates listed on the slide for each assessment, we need folks to participate an additional day to review the draft performance level descriptors. Selected participants will be contracted at a daily rate. Yes, that means that participants will be paid for their time. Please consider serving on one of the standard setting committees yourself and sharing this information with the special educators in your building. The link to the standard setting is embedded in this slide. Karen wants to thank everybody for all you do and to remind you that we are almost there.
Did alt assessment for 10th grade move to 11th grade for next year, or does it stay the same?
That is a really great question. In reviewing the rules that are now existing, I noticed there could be an error within them. After reviewing those, I noticed that the IDAA was listed for all grades from kindergarten to grade 11. We're right now in the rulemaking process, so I think that will be edited. We'll be sure to follow up with more specific guidance on that a little later.
Next year, will ELA and math ISAT tests be required for 10th grade students?
For spring 23, grade 10 students will have the option to take the ELA and math ISATs.
And will you please state all testing grades for the ISATs next year?
For spring 23, students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 will be required to take the ELA and math ISATs. Students in grades 5, 8, and 11 will be required to take the science ISAT.
Is there any indication yet if ISATs and IRI can be administered remotely again next year?
That's an excellent question. We just had our planning meeting with our testing vendor, Cambium Assessment, and we'll be finalizing those plans for remote testing and full and adjusted blueprints for the next couple of weeks.
Are the IDAA for 2023 the same as ISAT?
Again, when I took a look at the rules that are laid out now, it seemed to have an error for the IDAA assessments. Right now, the rules are stating that the IDAA should be administered in all grades from K to 11. Again, we think this is an error, and we are in the rulemaking process right now. We will follow up with more information later.
Will teachers be able to continue to proctor ISATs for their own class, or is this disappearing with COVID?
Again, another excellent question. That is something that I'm going to have to bring the executive team in on in order to decide, and we'll be following up probably at our next webinar.
Do you project that we are staying with the shortened ISAT assessment, or will they be going back to the original form?
Again, another excellent question. Just like with the remote administration and teachers being able to administer the ISATs to their own students, that decision will be made by the executive team as far as if we have the full or adjusted blueprint for spring 23. We will probably have more information at our June webinar.
There are no open questions at this time.
Excellent. Throw it over to myself for some ISAT updates. To begin, remember that students enrolled on or before April 29, 2022 will be counted in participation rates, and therefore they should be administered the spring ISATs. The rule for greater than or equal to 95% participation rates for all students and for all student subgroups in this place for the spring 22 ISAT summative test. If you have not already, please bookmark the important dates page on the ITO portal to be informed of all ISAT testing windows and Cambium assessment system availability. Students in grades 3 to 8 and 10 are required to participate in the ELA and math summative testing for spring 22. Students in grades 5, 8, and 11 are required to participate in science summative testing for spring 22. Nevertheless, parents, guardians may still persist in requesting to opt their child out of spring 22 summative testing. Districts and/or school leaders can work with parents to inform them of the importance of gathering student performance data for school year 21-22. The district and/or school leaders may decide to grant parents opt-out request. However, the state will not take the parent opt-outs into consideration when calculating participation rates. That is, those students remain in the denominator unless they were absent during the entire assessment window due to being homebound or documented medical reasons. If districts and/or school leaders grant a parent opt-out for a test that has been started or completed, it should be documented in the test incident log. If the need arises, documenting test improprieties is also available in TIDE. In the administering test column, click the Test Improprieties accordion to create, view, or upload test improprieties. Processing TIE test improprieties is a manual process, and I will be reviewing, approving, and/or rejecting each and every one. Please include clear and thorough information in the additional comments so as to allow for an expedited process. For the creation of those TIE test improprieties, we have posted 2 resources on the Idaho portal: the TIE test improprieties PowerPoint and the TIE test improprieties quick guide. Both are linked here on this slide. Additionally, as a district test coordinator and/or school test coordinator, you can track test progress. The administering test columns, click the monitoring test progress accordion for myriad reports that can be used to track testing progress. Lastly, in the after testing column, click on the data cleanup accordion to enter non-participation codes. This feature in TIE allows DTCs or SCs to keep track of non-participation. Keep in mind that TIE is separate from the participation appeals application. An important update for our proficiency standard setting meeting. Due to lack of availability of venues large enough to accommodate our meeting, we have moved our proficiency standard setting meetings to be online. Standard setting conference will still be held the week of July 18, with standards being set for specific assessments during specific dates and times. Please see the slide on the screen now for those specific dates and times. As a reminder, we need general education and special education expertise on all committees. So please sign up if you are interested and able to be present. A big thank you to everyone that has signed up to participate. If you have not yet signed up, there is still time. The JOT form will close on May 13. The Idaho SDE will send out acceptance letters very soon afterwards. And with those updates, I will pause for ISAT questions.
Could you please remind me, for the subgroup to count, is it a subgroup if there are 10 or more students or 20 or more students?
Yes, that's 20 or more students.
When students are enrolled in 2 Idaho school districts full-time and take 1 ISAT, which school claims the scores?
It should be the one that the student is taking the course at. So if the student is taking their math course at school A should get the scores for that.
What happens if you don't meet the 95% participation rate?
So if you don't meet the 95 participation requirement, your proficiency rate will be reduced by the percent of the kids that didn't participate, and that's a requirement from the federal government.
When a student has withdrawn before the ISAT, but was in TIED when the window began, can we just take them out of TIED, or do we need to enter them as withdrawn in the data cleanup?
It's usually best to just go ahead and remove that student from your TIED role.
Can we submit one large list of students whose parents opt out?
Again, the only information that should be submitted if the district and/or school decides to grant parent opt-outs is a test incident if that test has been started or completed.
If we have a dual enrolled student who withdrew from just our school this past month, are we okay to remove them from our TIED portal?
Yes.
Since the state will not consider parent refusals, are districts allowed to inform parents that the state does not allow parents to opt students out of testing?
Yes, they certainly can. It's important for the district and/or school to work with the parent to inform them of the importance of summative testing and the data that is provided on student performance. But it is also important to inform that the participation of that student will count against the district and/or school.
Going back to the dual enrolled student question, what if they are taking the ELA and math courses in both schools?
Again, another excellent question. If you're taking the course at both schools, I would imagine that the scores would be relevant to both schools.
How long will the data cleanup tab be open in Tide this spring?
I have to double check that with our testing vendor, but I believe it is a week after the window closes.
Back to the parent opt-out. When would a district approve an opt-out?
That decision up to you as far as whether you approve a parent opt-out.
If we have foreign exchange students enrolled in Tide, will this cause problems with the participation rate?
Make sure that those foreign exchange students their status is documented in IC, so their participation will not be counted for that particular school or district.
If a student withdraws to be homeschooled when tests are paused, will they count against participation rate? Should we code them as withdrawn in data cleanup?
Coding them as withdrawn in the data cleanup in Tide, yes, and then also updating your IC files to document unenrollment.
Will you expand on not meeting the participation rate and how the achievement score will be reduced?
Yeah, so I was going to say the business rules are posted on our website. If you go to assessment and accountability data and explainers, the 2022 proposed business rules are posted under files, resource files, and rules. If you wanted to take a look at that, it's in the draft form, but it walks you through how the proficiency rate will be reduced based on participation rate.
I need more clarification on opt-out. Why would a district approve an opt-out if it's not allowed? Can you give examples?
Yep. Give me a call afterwards, and we can get into the parent opt-out scenario.
There are no open questions.
I'll throw it over to myself for an IRI update. To repeat the information given from the April webinar, the following is an important update on literacy funding and economically disadvantaged identification. To enact the provisions of HB 790, we had asked schools to provide additional data on students who are economically disadvantaged. This is due to the fact that 50% of the funding is tied to student performance on the Idaho Reading Indicator. Is weighted an additional 0.75 for students who are identified as economically disadvantaged. We have been asked that you use either a free and reduced application or an income survey, if possible, to provide this data to maximize your funding. For this data to be included and to streamline the process for schools, instead of uploading the information into the iStation platform, it will be uploaded into IC in both your May and end-of-year files and be used by the state to inform literacy funding allocations. Public School Finance expects to distribute this portion of the funding early next school year. There is no change to the IRI administration process. The spring IRI window is still open from May 2 to May 31. This information also went out to all district test coordinators via email on Friday, April 8th. A reminder from Karen, the human reader accommodation is not allowed on the IRI. This includes the read aloud accommodation. If any students who still have the human reader or read aloud accommodation for the IRI on their IEPs need to be amended as soon as possible. If you have any students in this situation, don't forget to give them an opportunity to practice without a human reader through the student modeling function before test day. You should be able to find everything you need in the redlined version of the Spring 22 IRI TAM posted on the IRI webpage. Here's another reminder from Karen. There are 3 options for assessing early literacy skills for students with significant cognitive impairment, SCI, as part of the IRI test administration. This information is outlined in Appendix I of the Spring 22 IRI TAM. 1. The student with SCI may take the current IRI using accessibility features and accommodations. 2. The student with SCI may take an alternative early literacy assessment, which assesses typical early literacy skills. The IEP team may choose any commercial early literacy assessment that meets the individualized needs of the student. For phonics and a cadence reading are 2 examples of alternative early literacy assessments that an IEP team may choose. 3. The student with SCI may take a teacher-made early literacy assessment. This option allows the teacher to develop an early literacy assessment that meets the individualized needs of the student. When a student with SCI participates in the IRI using option 2 or 3, as outlined above, the student's score and/or performance are not reported to the Idaho State Department of Education. However, the results of the alternative or teacher-made early literacy assessments should be used to develop meaningful early literacy IEP goals for the student. Appendix I also includes 2 tables that list and explain the accessibility features and accommodations that may be appropriate for a student with SCI who takes the current IRI. Remember that the IEP team may not exempt any student with an SCI from participating in the IRI. It is up to the student's IEP team to determine how a student with SCI will participate in the IRI. The Braille IRI test material packets were compiled and sent out to the DTCs at the end of March. After you've completed the test, please remember to return the Braille materials in the prepaid postage envelope that was included in the original packet. Just a few more reminders about IRI testing. First, remember that teachers cannot proctor the IRI for their own students, but they can act as an observer. See the Assessment Integrity Guide for details on the roles and responsibilities of an observer. Also remember that for IRI testing, the test environment should adhere to guidelines outlined in Appendix XI, Test Environment Checklist, in the Assessment Integrity Guide. In addition to the Assessment Integrity Guide, be sure to access the IRI TAM, which is posted on the SCE Assessment IRI webpage and linked here. With those updates, I will pause for any IRI questions.
Our federal programs director stated that the SCE is allowing districts to use our direct certification numbers for this year, that we can just upload this in our IC upload. Is this correct?
I'll have to circle back with our federal programs individuals to see if that is actually correct, and we'll include that information in our FAQs.
When can districts download ISAT ISRs to ensure they have all scores?
For the Spring 22 ISAT Math and ELA, after the student has completed both the CAT and the PT portions of the ISAT, scores should be available in reporting in approximately 10 business days. When scores are in reporting, you should be able to then download ISRs.
Do you know when districts will receive ISAT parent brochures? I worked with the printers and they were sent out the end of last week, early to the end of last week. I've already heard from a couple of districts that have received them, so they should all be en route currently. We have no open questions.
Excellent. I'll throw it over to Ayaka for a college entrance exam update.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much. Overall, it was a very smooth administration, and the College Board indicated that they were very impressed with how trouble-free we were compared to other states. This is very exciting. You must be very proud of yourself, and if you are the district testing coordinator, please let your SAT coordinators know that they did an amazing job. As you may have already been aware, the spring SAT scores from the primary test day are now being released. The scores from the makeup day will be released starting on the 18th. Score release may be delayed due to a variety of factors. Please call the number above for more information if your student's score is missing. We've also released a score release webinar for students and parents. You can distribute the link in the slide as you notify them about the score release. We are again conducting the year-end feedback survey for the 2022 SAT administration. If you have not completed the survey, please click on the link in the slide and let us know how we did this year. It'll take about 10 minutes to complete, and your answers are critical to helping us improve future administrations. As of last Thursday, we've already received 60 responses. I really appreciate your involvement and responsiveness. And here comes the very critical information, the 2022-2023 guidance. I so appreciate your patience on this. For the 2022-23 school year, LEAs must offer state-sponsored CEE to their students in grade 11 and first-timers in grade 12 who missed the state-sponsored CEE in grade 11 per IDAPA 08-02-03-111-06 Comprehensive Assessment Program. Schools should encourage all students to participate in CEE regardless of their abilities or future plans. However, students are not required to participate in the CEE, and the CEE is no longer required for graduation. Districts and charter schools may locally establish a CEE requirement to enforce participation at their discretion. Additional guidance will be provided to the SAT coordinators, college and career readiness coordinators, and district test coordinators via email. Do you have any questions about college entrance exam?
Can you please explain who identifies children in foster care for the ISAT subgroup that we are responsible for testing 95% in? Where can we get this list to verify we are counting the correct students in this subgroup?
Yes, so the foster care indicator is coming directly from the health and welfare. But the question of how you guys can get the list, we'll need to get back to you on that.
We have not received scores for several students who have taken the ISAT. They are marked as reported, but still have not shown on the reporting section on the Cambium page. How long is this typically taking?
Again, double check that the students have taken both the CAT and the PT portions of the math and ELA ISAT. Typically, scores appear in reporting in approximately 10 business days after submission.
Ayaka, will SATs still be offered on a school day, or will districts determine when they offer SAT?
SAT will still be offered on the school day. We'll keep the 2 school days, one for primary and one for makeup for SAT. And we will also have SAT vouchers for virtual schools.
Is the state paying for SAT school day next year since districts are still required to offer it?
Yes, the state will be paying for the SAT school day next year.
Thank you. There are no open questions at this time.
Thank you everyone for attending. While we're waiting for any last minute questions, let me go ahead and let you know that our next webinar will be 10 a.m. Mountain on Wednesday, June 8th. You can find links to register for this webinar or to review past webinars on the Assessment and Accountability's redesigned homepage under the Connect with Us heading.
Will the SAT school day be during the ISAT window, since juniors will be participating in all 3 content areas in the ISAT?
Historically speaking, SAT school day has been in April, so yes, it's going to be in the ISAT window, unfortunately.
And there are no other open questions.
We will include the questions and answers with the materials that we post. Watch for a video, a PDF of the PowerPoint, and the questions and answers later next week. We will need time to make sure that these documents are accessible. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day.